Hey everyone, it's Lainey and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning to my channel, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. How are you guys doing today? I hope you are having a splendid day so far. If you want to see my little tips and tricks to get really flawless looking, naturally flawless looking skin, then just keep watching. It's really important to make sure that your skin is hydrated before you put on your makeup. So I was using my rose water. I think also an important step here is to make sure you're using primers that are perfect for your skin type. I'm actually using two. I'm going in with my Unique primer because it's a really nice primer for filling pores, very similar to the Smashbox primer. And then I go in with a new one from The Ordinary that has a lot of silicone in it, and I use that on the areas where I have super large pores, and I think this just gives me a really great canvas before I put on any foundation or powders. Now I have a question for you guys. How long do you let your primer sit before you put on makeup? I'm always unsure on how long I should wait. Then I'm going in here with my BB cream by Unique. I just love this because again it hydrates and it also gives me such a nice tacky base for whatever foundation I put on top. Now the foundation is up to you, whatever you want to use. Today I felt like using the Hourglass, so that's what I went with, but it's not dependent on a certain foundation. Use whichever foundation you like and whatever in your budget. For this, I'm actually using a brush. You could use a brush or a makeup sponge. Again, this part really doesn't matter. Whatever you prefer. I like how the Hourglass looks with a brush. If I was using my other foundations, I'd most likely use a beauty blender unless it was my Unique. I also like how that one applies with a brush more than a sponge. I am using my Unique concealer because it's very pigmented, but it wears really lightly. It's not heavy on the skin, and a damp makeup sponge. For this, again, use whatever concealer you like. I do recommend a damp beauty sponge for concealer because it thins it out. Concealer can be pretty heavy. For really flawless looking skin, I like a very full coverage, but you don't want to go crazy on layering it up or putting too much. You want it to look very natural. Oh my goodness. My dog is going cuckoo in the background, sorry. He definitely has a case of cabin fever right now. But anyways, you don't want to go cakey. You don't want to go overboard. I want to keep everything really light on my skin so it looks super flawless, but kind of like I woke up like this. Like you could tell I'm wearing makeup, but I don't want it to look like cake face. You know what I'm saying? I also recommend going a shade or so lighter for the center of your face. It just brings such a nice light to the center of your face. I just think it looks so beautiful, but be careful. You don't want to go too light in my opinion. I have gone too light before and it just doesn't look natural. It's like, whoa, why is the middle of her face so light? And now I'm going in with a translucent setting powder. I'm obsessed with this. I'm using the e.l.f. Again, not dependent on the certain brand of powder. Whatever powder you like. I'm doing my cheapy e.l.f. because it's so affordable, but using a damp makeup sponge. So important. I love the way it makes it lay down, but you don't want your sponge to be overly wet. That will not work out right. So just lightly damp and pressing it onto my oily areas, the areas I have large pores, fine lines, and it's gonna really keep that concealer in place because we don't want any scrunching up of our concealer or enhancing any lines because we're trying to look flawless here. Now I'm going to use my Hoola bronzer. It's just a really nice cool tone bronzer, and I'm trying to use up this sample, but it seems like it never goes away. It's such a tiny sample, but somehow it's never ending. I don't know how. It's like magic. But I'm going in with the under the apples of my cheek and doing a soft contour. I'm using a real hair brush. I really love this Morphe brush for getting in and doing my contour. It keeps it still a little bit soft, which I really like. I'm really into putting the contour into my temples. I don't know why, but I think it makes all the difference. Really bringing it into the temple. I feel like makes my cheekbones look a little bit bigger than they really are. And of course, going in around the forehead, warming up the outside of the face. And I like to drag it back into my hairline because I want it to look like my skin. I don't want to have a big white line from my hairline to my forehead. That's very important. And bringing it down onto the neck a little bit. And now let's get to the good part, my favorite trick of all. With that damp makeup sponge. Again, not wet, but damp. We are going to push the powder into our skin. The sponge was just a tad too dry, so I did use my Raisin Water by Caudalie. I do squeeze the sponge a little bit after the spritz to kind of get it to disperse into the rest of the sponge and not making one area too wet. Instead of dusting off my translucent powder, I actually press it into the skin. Now, if you're going crazy heavy duty baking on your face, you would want to kind of fluff away some of that excess powder. But since I just did a light dusting of my translucent powder, okay, that might be a little bit more than a light dusting, but anyways, I'm pushing it into the skin with a damp sponge. And you guys, that is my trick. I don't know why, but it just looks amazing. My skin looks flawless. Everything stays so nicely. And then I go back in with a little bit more bronzer because a translucent powder can kind of have a white cast. So it just kind of brings some life back into the skin. And as far as blush goes, it really doesn't matter. Pick whatever color goes with the look you're going for. I'm pretty obsessed with Milani Luminoso. Going with a light application of blush. This is pretty pigmented. As you can see, I didn't pick up a lot of product, but there's a lot of color there. I like to go in a little bit of an upward motion because it lifts the face. I learned that from Tati, and I love that trick. And another massive trick that has totally changed my foundation game. Using some type of primer water or setting water, whatever you like. I'm using the MAC Fix Plus, going over the foundation, powders, all of that, but before the highlighter. Having a little dampness to the face really gives that highlighter an extra oomph, in my opinion. I always like something a little extra. Kind of obsessed with highlighters right now. I'm sure, like most of you watching, they're kind of a big deal right now. But I love the way it makes a highlighter pop on my skin. If you want a more everyday kind of natural, then skip the highlighter and you'll be good to go. But you know I am wearing highlighter every single day.
I think the great thing about this video is that none of what I did was dependent upon the products I picked. It was really just about the steps to put the products on, about using the damp makeup sponge, by setting the powder with the damp makeup sponge, and also using some type of facial mist. There is so much flexibility with this application, so don't feel like you have to use any certain products. Really, use what's in your makeup collection. Don't feel like you have to go out shopping to get this done. I'm sure a lot of you watching already have most of these things in your makeup collection, so don't feel like you have to run out to the store anytime soon. But I really hope this video helped you guys figure out how to make your makeup look just a little bit more natural. If you have any questions about this video, please do not hesitate to ask. If you have any tips or tricks you'd like to share with me, I would love to hear from you guys, so make sure you put that below in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I would love to have you be a part of my YouTube family. Seriously, it would be amazing. And make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter because I love getting to chit chat with you guys. The most important part here is to always try to be positive because at the end of the day, that is truly all we can try to do. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.